you want to do is the same thing that you did in the storyboard. You translate whatever the body gesture or whatever you want to call it is gonna be like, and know that whatever you put in the storyboard is gonna be your guidelines to what you're gonna do. Here, you want to get it as close as the material that you want it to be, so take a little bit more respect to the paper and they'll go haywire. What you want to do is practice a lot, and when it comes to this part, mostly what you want to do is practice. It takes just a little bit of practice, but it is practice that you want to do. And this kind of environment is usually is gonna be all about the gestures. Once you learn and practice how the gestures communicate and how the bodies react to certain movements, how nerves and stuff like that works, which to be honest I didn't do that much. Mostly I translated what I knew into my drawings, and since I do cartoons, you can let loose some of them. If you're doing not realistic cartoons, you're gonna be okay with just basic practice of gestures. But if you're gonna go for something more realistic or something that takes more time, in that sense, yeah, you might want to take your time and effort on understanding what your translations are going through. So where those lines specifically go every time. For example, I have a book that I made when I was starting to do all this stuff and making the designs for an amount of things that I'm still working on. And I use it as a reference of where those areas are gonna be. This was from a video here on YouTube. I don't remember right now. If I get the information where I get the facial reference, I will put it in the video. All these determined the measurements to them, and those things you want to know. Once you do that, you can actually do gestures a little bit easier. You get where those body parts are gonna go, how the muscles are gonna react, and you might even apply that to certain things that are not exactly, specifically body, but it still has some attributes that you gotta follow to actually make it into something. Like, for example, if it's a sword, it needs certain elements to look like a sword. If not, it's not gonna be a sword, it's gonna be something different, as well as other details. So those are things that in the future you gotta know that you're gonna be confronted, you're gonna have to deal with, and that everything that you're doing for that character, what it shows what the character is. Even when you're doing character development, some characters do grow, some others do physically get different attributes than before, making the experience a little bit not just mentally but physically, which is the most realistic way of seeing things. So if you really want to create something that really gives you that satisfying tone, you might want to go for those things, knowing that how the character started as physically and how it's gonna evolve to a more complex, more determined, or whatever the conditions are gonna be for that character. And from there you start creating your story out of that. Usually people do stories by creating first the story itself and then putting the characters in, and that damages a lot of the story that is going through the character. The character doesn't feel like it's from that story particularly. So what you want to do is create a character that is gonna go through this story, and from that character you develop that story. You continue the story through that journey that the character goes through, and depending on his character traits, it shows how he decided those things. It gives more logic to the character than before. That's why you want to practice. That's why you want to put it into, instead of words, you want to put it in a physical environment, something that you can make a representation, not just something that you say or you just teach the people directly by words and meanings and stuff like that. It's mostly everything shown by physical and visuals and stuff like that. That's how most of the best do it. Just pure practice of human interactions, animal interactions, etc.